Watch this. Every dot is an AI session, and they are talking to each other. This is not a demo. Sjoerd, my community co-founder, is going to tell you everything about it. First, why the tools you pick matter way less than you think. Then we will talk about setup. And then the short version, what can you immediately implement to get 80% close what this whole thing is doing? You just launched it. What we are looking at.
In here, I can see the sessions that I have running, and those are mainly Claude Code and Codex sessions. And I can see it when they communicate with one another. A message coming online, which sessions are running, depending on in which work tree they are in.
There is a load of engineering happening in the background. So maybe let's start with why would someone set up their Claude Code sessions or communicating with Codex sessions? And the whole other question is, of course, the debate between Apple and Android is now debate between Anthropic and OpenAI. So how do you go about that? Obviously, you're using both.
Yeah, I'm definitely using both. I find that both of them have different strengths. So I may have one daily driver. I use Claude Code the most. I feel the most comfortable with it. I'm most used to how the models work there. But I also see that GPT 5.6 Sol is a very capable model, which has slightly different strengths than Claude Code. Just putting Claude Code to work, having it do stuff, and then having Codex review the work of Claude Code is a very effective workflow that catches stuff that Claude Code on its own wouldn't catch.
If somebody is choosing between the two, do I read it correctly that your answer would be get both together? It depends how much money you have to throw at the AI toys, because this is obviously it's not running on $20 subscriptions.
Yep. No, if you want to get the most out of it, then it will be best to get both because they both build on each other. If you're just starting out and tinkering, by all means, just get started with one. I think Codex is a little bit more generous with usage and it has much more capable cheat models. So if you want to go and use just GPT 5.6 Terra, then you're going to get a ton more use out of your subscription. So that's one thing to keep in mind. But I personally like Claude Code as a daily driver the most. Just Opus 5 is has its quirks, but is a very capable model.
How do you daily work? Where do you communicate that the models would be running the show?
Right. So this is a view that's cool, but I don't really work in this. It just visualizes when the models message each other. So I build a system, an MCP, that allows models to discover each other and then send messages back and forth. And this took quite a bit of work to get to work because there's not really an easy process to get this to operate.
I'm curious how it's going to grow because I remember during our calls, you showed me fully working on multiple projects and it's like an army and not even agents. I wouldn't call it agents because each of these sessions can have its own skills and agents underneath it and workflows.
Yeah.
So this is like harnesses, agentic. I'm not so good at coming up with the terms like vibe coding. I would have never come up with that.
Like multi-agent orchestration is like the easiest. It's kind of what it is. So I really like that my models can communicate with one another. The main reason is sometimes I usually separate them by work tree. So a model gets like a copy of the code base, works in on one feature, and then once it's done, merge it back in. This is like the standard way of working that I think every developer who's a little bit deeper into this knows and understands. But sometimes you still want multiple models to work together on the same project. And then sub-agents can work, but sub-agents have their limitations. And one really nice option with this MCP service that models can still communicate, even though they're working in the same work tree, working on the same project, but still have them understand, hey, there's another one working and that one is making commits. And I'm also doing work slightly separate, but I'm working on the UI of the same project. And I also want to make commits. Let's actually talk to the other agent and figure out how we won't stumble over each other's work. And this is what they can do and allows me to be more hands-off. And one really cool example of that is that you can't really do properly with sub-agents is Opus 5 on max reasoning is a really effective way to do UI work. I found that there's There's no better way. And you can also see this on, I think, the front-end arena. You can see that Opus 5 on max reasoning outperforms Fable 5 at any level of reasoning, and also GPT 5.6 Sol. So what I like to do is open up a Claude Code session, set it to Opus 5 on max, and then open up another Claude Code session that's set up on Fable. And the Fable model does the orchestration, and I tell it hey, there's a pair available. There's a different model session available. You can discover it with this MCP, and that one is responsible for all the UI work. That works really well. And then second to that, there's also Codex is really good at computer use. So I tell Fable, hey, you're the orchestrator. Opus 5 is here available for UI work. And Codex is available whenever you need a model to do some computer use. Adjust anything, click on any buttons, that sort of stuff. And that suddenly allows Fable to reach higher levels and be able to delegate work and do more and get stuff to a higher level without me having to get in between. And another really basic example, sometimes the context window is filling up, stuff is getting really long, and then you want to hand off stuff from one session to another. So it has a clean context window and can get going again, and then have the models directly communicating with one another is a much easier way of getting there. Where the second model that gets to work, that has the clean context window, can ask questions to the first one. Hey, where is this? What do I need to do here? And then the first model still has all of the context, and the second one can then get to work with a clean context window, being a little bit smarter because it doesn't have all that baggage from earlier, but it can still access the old information there as well.
I love it so much. And the best part, these orchestrated models can reach out to me and communicate with me, and then communicate with my agent. So yeah, we will talk about the whole involving us as a humans and working all as a team. But before that, so observability, that's the right handle, because you can also quickly get in and see what's happening. So show me, how do you prompt? Are you still in a terminal, or you have an interface that you build? Because I remember that you had also voice interface. Are you still using that?
Yeah, a little bit, but Codex, being so good with the voice mode, overtook that, made it obsolete. No, but I have a single session in here. Because it's an MCP layer, I've built a separate agent that doesn't need Claude Code or doesn't need Codex to run, that can access and read what are all the other agents doing, and I can just talk to that one. So also from my phone, I can reach that one. I can just talk to it hey, how's this session doing? What's going on with that one? And I can use that remotely from my phone to check in with what's happening with the different sessions. And it's a little bit slow, but that's perfectly fine because it's very capable. 80% of my communication still goes through the terminal. So we can see here the communication in the chat. And I'm sitting here doing this, nothing at all. And then just waking each other up.
You're orchestrating harness that is orchestrating other harnesses. So that's not nothing. That's solution architecting, huh? Okay, so very practical. If somebody has Codex and Claude Code, or is considering to get both, what is the fastest thing in 20 minutes they could put together and do?
So just having them both and reviewing each other's work is already, that gets you to the 70-80% level of getting all of the benefit out of it, which I think is very useful to do. Have Claude Code built and then Codex review is my preferred flow, but I also know that people quite like having Codex work and then Claude Code review. I think either way works quite well. It's really helpful because if you have two different people, they look at stuff from a different angle, and the same goes for the models. I also really every now and then just give two different models or harnesses the same task and see how they do, which one you like best. Because I know that these models have become so capable that it also comes down to personal preference. And I know people that really going back and forth with Sol much more than going back and forth with Opus, especially with Opus being a little bit quirky with how it communicates right now. So I completely understand it, but I think it's important for people to try it out, experience it, and decide on it yourself what you like. But other than that, what you can also do is just have a scratchpad that they're both aware of, putting something in a scratchpad and then using that for them to share information with one another is also very basic, but also a quite effective way to have them talk to one another, share with one another without you having to sit there and copy paste stuff from one model to the other. You may have to say sometimes, hey, there's something new in the Scratchpad, go check it. But that's much better than having to like copy paste messages in between.
We're talking Claude Code, Codex. What about open source? So I know that in your setup there is open source also running as well.
I've built my own layer on Mastra, and I really quite like what they've built, but I think it's really important for you to experiment yourself. So if you're all about data privacy and security, then you may want to look more into Pi or open code. Pi, especially if you want to tinker and build something completely yourself. But I think it's really important right now to just try and experiment, decide for yourself what's important. If you, for example, have some sensitive stuff, or if you maybe don't want to pay for a $200 subscription over at OpenAI or Anthropic, then it's really easy to use DeepSeek V4 Flash, for example, inside of Codex. I think it took me about 10-15 minutes to set that up, to have that working. Like I said before, we're getting treated with a lot of different options right now that are really solid. So whenever someone says, oh, this sucks or this is bad, it may be bad for them.
Or the setup.
Or the setup might actually suck. They might have a lot of old skills or a lot of Claude MD information that's now hurting the performance of the model. But really decide for yourself what you like the most. Don't blindly follow like the people saying, oh, this is the thing, like the next shiny thing you should go for. I think it's much more important to be flexible and to be able to say, oh, I'm going to try out a different harness right now, or I'm going to try a different model right now.
Of course, with testing, it costs a lot of money and time. So I also see your and my job, especially with the community on the weekly calls, that members expect that we are going to toss our money, our time to experiment and play, that we can direct or give at least informed advice and not just reading articles or PR pieces that what's best or who killed what, but actually work and put that in the real production and to have a real insight. All right. In our WhatsApp group, it's you, me, and our agents, and basically anyone can collaborate. Your agent messages me, hey God, I need this. I say to my agent, go figure this out. But then recently we moved to the buzz. In the next video, I want to talk with you about the buzz. I'm very curious about the mistakes, observations, and is it the new Slack for all the agents and humans to work together?